It started with a faint, ominous vibration, barely noticeable at first. Then the earth split open. Buildings shuddered, people rushed outside in panic, and just off the coast, something extraordinary occurred. Peneda Islet, a remnant of ancient volcanic activity, fractured under the force of the strongest earthquake Campi Flegrei has experienced in more than 4 decades. This was no ordinary tremor. It was a thunderous signal from one of the most volatile and enigmatic supervolcanoes on Earth. Just a few miles or several kilometers from Naples, Campi Flegrei lies beneath a region inhabited by over 6 million people. Now, the volcano is exhibiting behavior that has scientists deeply alarmed. It's not just the strength of the recent quake that's raising concern, it's where it hit and how deep. Experts are now urgently asking, is something far more destructive brewing beneath southern Italy? In recent days, specialists have been poring over fresh seismic data, issuing stark warnings and confronting a chilling possibility that Campi Flegrei's long dormancy may be ending. If that's true, the world can no longer afford to look away. Homes rocked violently, their walls flexing like trees in a gale. Along the coast, an unstable cliff collapsed into the sea. Across the region, a wave of fear swept through the streets as residents fled, uncertain of what might come next. The source of this dread, a magnitude 4.6 earthquake, one of the most intense ever recorded at Campi Flegrei, a geologic powder keg with the potential to endanger millions. What made this event especially unsettling was not just its magnitude, but its location and depth, both deviating from typical seismic patterns in the area. Scientists drew immediate parallels to a similar magnitude 4.6 quake that hit in March, the strongest recorded since the caldera's last eruption centuries ago. These twin shocks may represent more than coincidence. They could mark the beginning of a dangerous new phase of volcanic activity. Renowned volcanologists and geophysicists are sounding the alarm. One leading expert cautioned against assuming stability in such a complex and unpredictable system. Campi Flegrei doesn't follow clear patterns. It can shift suddenly and without warning. Current signs are worrying. Seismic events are becoming more frequent, volcanic gases are being released in larger volumes, and subterranean pressure appears to be mounting rapidly. Some scientists are urging for more openness from authorities, insisting the public must be informed of the full scope of uncertainty and danger. The seismic sequence began with the initial 4.6 magnitude shock, followed by a flurry of aftershocks, magnitudes 2.2, 1.6, 1.0, 1.3, and dozens more, most under magnitude on men fortfarande bedrar, till nestan constanta skakningar. The epicenter was offshore near the town of Bacoli, but still within the wide expanse of the Campi Flegrei caldera. A landslide followed soon after, amplifying the sense of crisis. This main quake struck at a depth of roughly 4.9 kilometers, about 3 miles, and was felt from the island of Procida to the heart of Naples, even rippling as far as the Domitian coast. According to experts, it likely ranks as the second most powerful seismic event within Campi Flegrei's modern history, matching the March earthquake in strength and surpassing all others in recent years. What makes this earthquake particularly alarming is where and how deep it struck. It occurred farther west and at a greater depth than any previous quake of magnitude 4.0 or higher ever recorded in the region. Seismic unrest around Campi Flegrei is typically focused between the districts of Bagnoli and Pozzuoli, areas where pressurized gas and fluids are funneled upward by an active hydrothermal system. This zone also experiences the most pronounced ground deformation, as if something deep beneath is steadily trying to rise. The ground across the caldera is far from still. A phenomenon known as bradycism, slow, repeated inflation and deflation of the land, continues to reshape the landscape. The central and eastern parts of the caldera are steadily lifting, while the western sector remains comparatively motionless. That relative stillness doesn't offer immunity, only a temporary quiet. The lack of vertical motion there indicates reduced tectonic strain, but not an absence of it. Before this latest quake, the last significant event took place on July 26, 2024, measuring magnitude 4.0. Like today's tremor, it struck deep beneath the Gulf of Pozzuoli, part of a coastal stretch that runs from Misegno to Monte Nuovo. Earthquakes in this area tend to originate farther underground, influenced by a tangled web of faults that connect and divide the caldera's sectors, each reacting in its own way to the ongoing pressure and deformation. Campi Flegrei is not a single unified structure. It's a fractured system of nested calderas and crisscrossing faults, a geological puzzle where no piece moves independently. According to top researchers from Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, INGV, including senior volcanologists Mauro Lorenzo and Giuseppe De Natale, the region's behavior is growing more unpredictable. While no one can say with certainty whether this unrest will culminate in a larger earthquake or a phreatic eruption, the warning signs are impossible to ignore. History tells a sobering story. In this region, eruptions often begin not with fire, but with steam, phreatic blasts that rip through rock, clearing a path for magma that may follow. The birth of Monte Nuovo in 1538 stands as a vivid example. A new volcanic cone formed where steam first broke the surface. Today, with the ground still rising at roughly 1.5 centimeters per month, the pressure continues to build. Giuseppe Lorenzo, a volcanologist with the Vesuvius Observatory, has long cautioned that the danger is escalating. Following the most recent magnitude 4.6 quake, the strongest in the area in over 40 years, he renewed his call for urgent action. Emergency protocols, he insists, must be revised immediately. Too little has been done to prepare for what may come next. The back-to-back magnitude 4.6 quakes, including one from March, mark a possible turning point. The Gulf of Pozzuoli, once considered relatively safe from strong tremors, may now be entering a new phase of risk. Previously, attention was centered on hotspots like Picciarelli and Agnano, but the evidence is shifting, and so too must assumptions. Perhaps the most pressing threat lies in the fragility of the surrounding infrastructure. In densely populated towns like Pozzuoli, even moderate quakes have already caused damage. Ceilings have collapsed and aging buildings show cracks under the strain. Should magnitudes edge closer to 5.0 or beyond, the consequences could be catastrophic. Mastro Lorenzo speaks not in alarmist tones, but with a steady urgency grounded in decades of study. Calling this situation normal, he warns, is a dangerous form of denial. The inner workings of Campi Flegrei are still not fully understood, and it's that very uncertainty, unseen, unmeasured, and unresolved, that may be the greatest danger of all. Over the past months, a series of groundbreaking scientific studies have painted an increasingly troubling picture of the Campi Flegrei volcanic system. While earlier assumptions leaned toward stability, recent findings confirm quite the opposite, a pattern of growing instability and escalating risk. These studies point to a complex underground structure riddled with weak zones that could allow magma to penetrate the surface with little warning. One expert, speaking candidly in contrast to many of his peers, challenged the long-standing notion that the highest magnitude earthquakes would be limited to the narrow zone near Pozzuoli. The recent offshore earthquake near Baia, which caused significant damage in the town of Bacoli, an area traditionally considered outside the high-risk zone, has shattered that illusion. His message was clear. The idea that scientists can pinpoint exactly where the strongest quakes will strike is dangerously flawed. He further emphasized that this volcano is anything but predictable. What may appear on the surface as a lull in activity is, in fact, deceptive. Gas emissions are steadily increasing, one of the key forces pressurizing the crust and causing the uplift that has become a hallmark of the current crisis. According to the latest research, the crust overlying the magma chamber is now so fractured and weakened that its ability to contain an eruption is becoming increasingly questionable. The scientists didn't hold back. He warned that official messaging has often been marred by communication failures and false reassurances. Instead of acknowledging the uncertainty, many institutions have opted to soothe public fears by emphasizing how closely the area is being monitored. But, as he rightly pointed out, monitoring alone doesn't prevent a disaster. It merely documents the lead up to one. One of the more respected voices in the field, Dr. Giuseppe De Natale, has long argued that the current Brady system, this slow, deep inflation of the ground, is not part of a normal cycle. Unlike minor seismic fluctuations seen in less dangerous regions, Bradycism at Campi Flegrei has historically occurred only before or after eruptions. And since no eruption has taken place for decades, the conclusion he draws is deeply unsettling. This is the before. Even more alarming, the expert criticized his own institution, the INGV, for overstating the certainty of its models. He admitted that previous declarations about fully understanding the ongoing Bradycism were not only premature but deeply flawed. The current episode, he stated, is fundamentally different from anything recorded in the past 20 years and cannot be interpreted with outdated frameworks. He was not alone in his concern. Other leading scientists, including Roberto Scandone, voiced similar warnings well before the latest crisis intensified. Scandone once remarked that if the decision were his, he would have already ordered an evacuation. Now, even official communications from the INGV suggest that relocation might be necessary, though the language remains cautious, perhaps in an effort to avoid public panic or economic fallout. The sobering reality is that Bradycism has already triggered the strongest earthquakes ever recorded in the area, and some models suggest that even more powerful quakes, potentially exceeding magnitude 5, remain within the realm of possibility. The notion that the situation is fully understood or under control no longer holds water. The system is evolving and not in a reassuring direction. Scientists monitoring the Campi Flegrei caldera have reported a concerning development. The underlying forces driving the phenomenon known as Bradycism are intensifying. For those unfamiliar, Bradycism refers to the gradual uplift of land caused by volcanic activity beneath the surface. This process is often accompanied by increased seismicity, elevated temperatures, rising gas emissions, and more active fumaroles. According to leading volcanologists, the engine behind this activity, a massive supervolcano, is showing signs of renewed strength. A dramatic surge in carbon dioxide emissions has emerged as one of the clearest signs of intensifying volcanic unrest. Measurements show that levels have nearly doubled in recent years, with some of these gases seeping into homes, causing symptoms like dizziness among residents. It is a chilling reminder that the danger is not distant or abstract, but present and creeping into daily life. While earthquakes often draw the most attention, geophysicists stress that they represent only a fraction of the energy shifting beneath the surface. The latest seismic events have raised alarm across the scientific community. A recent earthquake struck with considerable force and originated from a notable depth underground, pointing to a broader reawakening of the volcanic system. Instruments tracking ground deformation and tremor patterns confirm that this was not an isolated occurrence but part of a disturbing trend. The current phase of Bradycism, slow ground uplift driven by deep pressure, is not just persisting, it appears to be gaining speed. Scientists caution that it is not merely the frequency or magnitude of earthquakes that matters, but the increasing spatial extent and intensity of the changes unfolding below. Though no one can say with certainty when an eruption might occur, whether decades or centuries away, the growing evidence suggests that action cannot wait. Emergency plans require immediate revision. Evacuation strategies must be put in place, practiced, and refined. Buildings across the region, many of them old or fragile, need structural reinforcements to withstand stronger quakes that may come with little warning. This urgency is not new for seasoned researchers like Giuseppe De Natale. For years, he has been among the few voices persistently calling attention to the seriousness of what is unfolding beneath Campi Flegrei. Since at least 2018, he has warned of the mounting risk, often in the face of public and governmental indifference. According to De Natale, the recent earthquake, paired with a similar one on March 13th, represents one of the strongest seismic episodes recorded in the region since the 1538 eruption of Monte Nuovo, a catastrophe that reshaped the local landscape more than 400 years ago. Although the most recent events have not yet caused widespread injury, the danger is far from hypothetical. De Natale recalled a narrow escape in March when a ceiling collapsed during a quake, nearly claiming a woman's life. His comment was sobering. Let's hope our luck doesn't run out. With each passing day, the ground continues to shift, slowly, relentlessly, and without guarantee of warning. A look at the seismic record over the past year reveals a steadily intensifying sequence. The most recent earthquake reached magnitude 4.6 and occurred at a depth of just 3.9 kilometers, a shallow rupture that amplifies its impact on the surface. It follows a pattern: a magnitude 4.0 quake in July 2024, a 4.4 event on May 13th, and another 4.6 on March 13. All occurred in or near a zone marked by the Solfatara crater, an area long known for persistent fumaroles and degassing. Even in 2023, a 4.0 quake struck the same general area, but on May 20th, 2024, the Earth shook with such intensity, magnitude 4.4, that people fled their homes in panic. The raw fear in that moment reflected not just the shaking ground, but the erosion of trust in its stability. Each of these tremors falls within the boundaries of the Campi Flegrei caldera, one of the most hazardous volcanic systems on the planet. Scientists have long warned that if an eruption were to occur beneath the bay, it could trigger a tsunami nearly 30 meters high, hurtling toward the coast and putting millions at risk. The city of Naples and its surrounding region, home to over 6 million people, would lie directly in its path. Tremors continue to ripple beneath the surface, their rhythm shifting unpredictably. Scientists track every movement with careful attention, while local communities live with the gnawing sense that any vibration could mark the beginning of something far worse. Beneath this uneasy calm, uncertainty builds. Far to the north in Bardonecchia, approximately 700 kilometers or 435 miles from Campi Flegrei, a violent torrent of dark water suddenly cascaded down the mountainside. Thick with debris and moving at terrifying speed, the flood overwhelmed a small village, stirring haunting echoes of the 2011 tsunami in Japan. There, as here, walls of churning mud tore through homes and streets, leaving nothing untouched. This time, the devastation struck Bayonaz in the Aosta Valley, following prolonged and intense storms that saturated the surrounding peaks. As heavy rains battered the highlands, waterlogged soil began to give way. Massive volumes of sediment, boulders, and torn-up trees surged into nearby streams, transforming them into rivers of destruction. The surge charged into populated areas with ferocious power. Amid the chaos, a 70-year-old man known for his work as an organic farmer and community leader was swept away while inside his car. Onlookers watched helplessly as the vehicle vanished into the flood. Despite swift efforts by emergency teams, his body was later recovered downstream. First responders moved quickly. Helicopters scanned the wreckage from above, while firefighters and specialized rescue crews from nearby towns worked relentlessly to save those trapped. More than 10 people were evacuated, including 4 individuals who had become stranded in their vehicles. Thankfully, all rescued were found to be in stable condition. Authorities raised the alarm to its highest level. State Road 335, a critical transport route, became a river of mud and broken timber, completely cutting off access. Bridges were sealed, and danger zones were set up along the riverbanks to prevent further loss of life. Rail service on the Tin Modane International Line came to a halt after debris buried the tracks beneath a layer of rocks and soil. Local officials urged everyone to stay inside, avoid traveling, and follow all safety protocols. Flooding forced the closure of the nearby A32 motorway in both directions, including access to one of the region's most visited resorts. If you found this update helpful, please consider liking the video, sharing it with others, and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps ensure that vital information reaches more people when it matters most. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, stay safe and stay alert.